Welcome to a latest chapter of this Kotlin tutorial. In the last chapter, we learned about top-level functions in Kotlin. So today we are going to learn about local functions in Kotlin. So before we start digging into the new topic, I would like to request all of you to give me honest feedback about the series so far. So if you're watching the series right from the start, you will definitely have an idea about how this tutorial is helping you. Or do you want me to change my style? Or do you want me to cover any specific topics in Kotlin and all? So you can share your feedback as comments or email me or connect with me using the social media accounts I provided in the link. I really hope your feedback can definitely improve the quality of the videos I'm making. Thank you. What is a local function? A local function is a function that within inside another function. So a local function will exist within inside the scope of the parent function. So the greatest advantage of using a local function is the code reusability. So if you look into a code base, we can often find out that reusable sequences of code are extracted to another function to achieve reusability. This will end up in a class that is littered with lots of non-relational functions, and when you try to group these functions, it will end up in a lot of boilerplate code as well. So what we're trying to achieve is that we are going to extract these functions towards the other functions that requires them to make exact relationship without creating any boilerplate codes. Now let's move on to the coding part. So I'm going to create a function which takes two arguments, a username and password, and it will return a boolean, a true value, if those arguments, a username and password, are not empty. So mostly we will create a validation function somewhere else to validate if those arguments are empty or not, right? So instead of that, we are going to create a local function to validate that. So I'm going to create a function, and function name will be login. Two arguments will be the username, a string, and password as also a string. And I'm going to return a boolean. So let us create the local function now, and I'm going to name it as function validate. As I said earlier, the local function will reside inside this parent function, right? And I'm going to give it one parameter. So I want to validate it, right? Validate the input. So I'm going to give it one parameter like input. And what I'm going to do is I will check if the input is empty or not. If it is empty, and I'm going to throw an illegal argument exception. I can provide a value as well. I'm going to provide it as input cannot be null, and I'm going to call the validate function as validate username and validate the password as well. And if both these conditions satisfies true, I'll return the value as true. Now let us call this function outside the parent parenthesis, and I'm going to call it as, first let's give two values to it for username and password, Kotlin, and the password as 1234. Let's run it and see. So it is processed with no errors or so on. So I'm going to change this username as empty for now. Let's see. It should throw an illegal argument exception, right? Let's see if it works in that way. So as expected, it has thrown an illegal argument exception, says input cannot be null. So our local function worked perfectly. So this is what we can achieve through using a local function. Like we can create the exact relationship you want instead of putting this function somewhere else, somewhere a class to hold this function, because those class will then hold a lot of other function like unrelatable functions and stuff like that. So instead of that, if you want to create a clear-cut relationship between a function and another function, you can put that function inside the parent function. So one more thing, I can also reference the properties of the parent function as well inside the local function. What I can do is I'm going to create vr some value, and I'm going to put it as 1. So I can refer this property of this parent function inside the local function as well. So this is all about local functions in Kotlin. So there are few things you have to look out for when you are implementing the local function. First of all, the added number of function counts. So when you're working with Android, the dex function count definitely matters. 2. It will be impossible to test the function in isolation. So before implementing it, you have to decide whether you want to move this local function also testable, or you are just making it as an extra implementation detail. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you were able to learn something new today. If you liked the video and if you think you have learned something new today, click on the like button so it will help in reaching more and more people who wants to learn Kotlin. And if you are new here today and haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I request you to subscribe it now because I'll be putting lots of new Kotlin related videos in the coming days. In the next chapter, we will learn about infix functions. Until then, goodbye and stay safe.